Chapter 1, Preparing for National, Regional, and State Dental Hygiene Board Examinations. Preparing for board examinations requires deliberate planning, study and review, time management, organization of information and schedules, and a positive can-do attitude. Conscientious dental hygienists will plan for success well in advance and be prepared to meet board requirements with confidence in their professional knowledge and skills. This book is a guide through the evidence-based knowledge on which dental hygiene practice is based. Systematic use of this book enables one to reinforce professional education, integrate concepts and ideas from many dental hygiene educators, and identify subject areas warranting additional study. The introductory chapter is a primer in navigating the licensure system, whether a new graduate, a practicing dental hygienist who is moving to another licensing jurisdiction, or a dental hygienist returning to practice after a lapse of activity to prepare for both didactic and clinical board examinations. A dental hygienist must master all subject matter and skills necessary for practice. Therefore, each subsequent chapter focuses on different aspects of such knowledge and skills. Success on board examinations also relies on being psychologically, emotionally, and physically prepared to demonstrate competence. It is essential to become thoroughly familiar with the format, logistics, and requirements of any preparatory examination for licensure. This chapter discusses the multifaceted licensure structure and explains the roles and interactions of the numerous organizations within the system. Information on both the National Board Dental Hygiene Examination, NBDHE, and clinical board examinations is provided. The chapter concludes with an overview of this review book, including its purpose and organization, as well as instructions on how to use the text effectively. Dental hygiene licensure in the United States. Licensure falls under the authority of an individual state or jurisdiction. Licensure of dental hygienists is a means of regulation to protect the public from unsafe practice of the profession and unqualified individuals. Each state has a state practice act that defines the practice of dental hygiene, establishes educational and testing requirements for licensure, sets parameters for enforcement of the law within that jurisdiction, and creates a state board of dentistry or dental hygiene to serve in accordance with the statute. A certificate for successful completion of an examination is not authorization to practice. Beginning practice without a license is illegal. Dental hygiene licensure requirements vary from state to state, but almost every state has the following three requirements. Graduation from a dental hygiene program accredited by the Commission on Dental Accreditation, CODA, or based on reciprocity by the Commission on Dental Accreditation of Canada, CDCA. A successful completion of the NBDHE, a successful completion of a regional or state clinical board examination. Recognition of an accrediting agency as a governmental function. In healthcare fields with a domain of specialized education, accreditation is conducted by a dedicated agency within the profession. In dentistry, the U.S. Department of Education, USDE, has recognized the CODA of the American Dental Association, ADA, as the official accrediting body for schools of dentistry, dental hygiene, dental assisting, and dental laboratory technology. The CODA is also listed in the publications of accreditation agencies by the Council for Higher Education Accreditation, CHEA. A diploma, certificate, associate's degree, or baccalaureate degree in dental hygiene indicating graduation from an accredited program is an essential component for licensure that is based on the accreditation system carried out under the auspices of the CODA. States that provide for licensure of a dental hygienist from a non-accredited school generally require evidence of an educational program approved by the state board. The NBDHE is developed and administered by the Joint Commission on National Dental Examinations, JCNDE. Client-based clinical examinations are conducted by 5 regional testing agencies. Currently, 3 regional testing agencies, CITA, NERB, and SRTA, administer the American Board of Dental Examiners ADEX Dental Hygiene Licensure Examination. ADE is strictly a test development corporation. It does not administer any examinations. The licensure boards of California, Delaware, and the Virgin Islands of the United States administer independent examinations, clinical examinations accepted for initial dental hygiene licensure. A license is applicable only within the geographic boundaries of the issuing state. However, most states have provisions for granting dental hygiene licensure by credentials or endorsement. Requirements generally include an active license in good standing, recent practice experience, graduation from an accredited program, successful completion of the NBDHE, and successful completion of a clinical examination. Specifics differ from state to state and are subject to change. For example, some states only accept NBDHE results within the last 5 years or limit recognition of clinical board examination scores to those from particular testing agencies. Applicants for dental hygiene licensure must contact the individual state licensing board for current requirements and information. The American Association of Dental Boards, AADB website, http://www.dentalboards.org, states Index HM, features a map of the United States with direct links to state board offices. State board websites are also readily accessible through an online search listing the state and dental hygiene board. State boards of dentistry or dental hygiene are governmental agencies that control and manage dental hygiene licensure in accordance with laws adopted by the legislature of the states. Boards have the power or influence to grant, deny, and revoke licenses. Board members are charged with the following duties: enforcing the State Practice Act and its rules and regulations, and conducting or recognizing examinations for competence, reviewing and investigating complaints concerning unlawful or unprofessional conduct by licensees. Significant variations exist from jurisdiction to jurisdiction in regulatory board organizational structure, in scope of power and authority, and even in title. For the purpose of clarity in this text, the term state board or state board of dentistry is used to refer to the regulatory body in a respective legal jurisdiction that is empowered to determine prerequisites for licensure and issue licenses to practice dental hygiene. Frequently, licensure candidates and even licensed practitioners confuse the state board with the state professional association. Although strong ties may exist between a state board and the state professional association, distinct legal differences exist between these two bodies. The State Board of Dentistry is a governmental agency established by law which functions as an arm of the state legislature to regulate the practice of dentistry and/or dental hygiene. Its sole purpose is to protect the public from incompetent or unethical practitioners. In contrast, a state dental hygiene or dental association is a voluntary organization of practitioners who join together to advance the profession and promote the oral health of the public. Practitioners need to understand both this distinction and the interaction between state boards and professional associations. Professional associations do not determine requirements for licensure or regulate practice. This is established by law and implemented through state boards. Professional associations do, however, initiate programs and research projects and propose legislative changes that may ultimately be incorporated into the legal requirements for practice. In most states, state board members are appointed by the governor. Alabama, Nebraska, North Carolina, Oklahoma, and the District of Columbia are the exceptions, with designation through election by members of the profession or through appointment by another governmental body. Typically, professional associations nominate and influence these appointments. All states have some form of dental hygiene representation on the board. Recent years have seen a trend towards self-regulation, with the establishment of separate dental hygiene state boards and advisory committees. Currently, 18 states have varying degrees of self-regulation for dental hygienists: Arizona, California, Connecticut, Delaware, Florida, Iowa, Maine, Maryland, Michigan, Missouri, Montana, Nevada, New Hampshire, New Mexico, Oklahoma, Oregon, Texas, and Washington. In Canada, over 99% of dental hygienists are self-regulated. In all provinces except Prince Edward Island and the 3 territories, the legislative and political arenas in dentistry are constantly changing, as are technological advancements in health. As a result, revision to state practice acts, including the definitions of dental hygiene and the scope of practice, is ongoing. Likewise, as the standards of competence in dental hygiene are redefined in terms of requisite professional skills and knowledge, examinations undergo continual updating. Although this places demands on the individual practitioner, the educational system, and the agencies responsible for evaluating competence, it is the pathway for the advancement of professional standards, increasing access to care, and improving the oral health status of populations. State practice acts charge the state board with conducting or sanctioning both didactic and clinical examinations to determine competence for entry into the profession. Some state laws even define the examination content and specify a passing score. The majority of practice acts authorize the state board to recognize multiple examinations. See Figure 1.1. Although other agencies are part of the licensure process, the fundamental authorization to recognize qualifications for licensure lies with the individual state regulatory board. Joint Commission on National Dental Examinations, the CNDE, is the agency responsible for the development and administration of the NBDHE. It includes a 15-member panel of representatives as follows: American Dental Association, ADA 3, Charlotte American Dental Education Association, ADA 3, as American Association of Dental Boards, AADB 6, American Dental Hygienists Association, ADHA 1, Public Member 1, American Student Dental Association, ASDA 1. A standing committee of the JCNDE, the Committee on Dental Hygiene, CH, consists of 5 dental hygienists, including the ADHA commissioner, 2 educators and 2 practitioners, and a dental hygiene student representative appointed by the ADHA, plus 1 commissioner from the ADA, the ADEA, and the AADB. The CDH's responsibilities relate primarily to the NBDHE and include the following: examination content and specifications, test construction procedures, including nomination of test constructors, and information to publicize or explain the testing program, examination regulations that affect dental hygiene examinees, matters about finances, the ADA and the Joint Commission bylaws, and the Joint Commission standing rules that affect the NBDHE, The Commission has final authority to act on committee recommendations, but historically the CDH has been the guiding force of the dental hygiene examination program. Examination format. The NBDHE is designed to assess the ability of an examinee to understand important information from biomedical, dental, and dental hygiene sciences, and to apply such information in a problem-solving context. The examination is computer-based and includes approximately 350 multiple-choice items in independent, case-based, and testlet formats. The NBDHE is a comprehensive examination with two components. Component A presents 200 discipline-based items in three major areas as follows: and scientific basis for dental hygiene practice, provision of clinical dental hygiene services, community health research principles. Component B presents 150 case-based items, which relate to 12 to 15 dental hygiene patient cases. Case material includes dental and health histories, dental charting, radiographs, and clinical photographs. Every examination includes one or more of the following patient types: geriatric, adult periodontitis, pediatric special needs, and medically compromised. The case-based items address knowledge, skills, and judgments necessary for the following: and assessing client characteristics, obtaining and interpreting radiographs, planning and managing dental hygiene care, performing periodontal procedures, using preventive agents, and providing supportive treatment services. In professional responsibility, the NBDHE tests the examinee's ability to apply the essential knowledge and skills as a beginning safe practitioner to solve oral health care problems and answer questions related to dental hygiene care. The examination is based on the practice competencies underlying entry-level dental hygiene practice as defined by the ADEA, the ADHA, the CODA accreditation standards, and other communities of interest. As part of its validity analyses to verify that the examination content supports these competencies, the JCND conducts a nationwide practice survey every 5 years. For more information, read the NBDHE technical report available on the ADA's website, http://www.ade.org/media JCNDE PDFs NBDHE technical report -X. The NBDHE test specifications document available in the National Board Dental Hygiene Examination Guide serves as the blueprint for test development. The outline lists the specific categories of subject matter included in the examination with an itemization of the number of items devoted to each area. It should be referenced as a guide for study and review. Examination items are written and selected by test construction committees in accordance with the NBDHE dental hygiene test specifications. The test construction committees are composed of individuals who represent locations across the country and are selected based on their expertise in 6 areas. 1. Basic sciences. 2. Radiology. 3. Periodontics. 4. Dental hygiene curriculum. 5. Clinical dental hygiene. And 6. Community dental health. Test construction committees author new examination items and develop new cases, revise and clone test items, create multiple versions of the examination, and review examination drafts before publishing. Committees strive toward higher cognitive levels understanding, application, and reasoning test development. Item format. The multiple choice items on the NBDHE consist of a stem, which poses a problem, and a list of 3 to 5 possible responses. The stem is usually either a question or an incomplete statement. Keywords in the stem such as best, most, first, not, except, or least are usually highlighted or italicized. Only one response is correct or clearly the best choice by universally accepted standards of care. A variety of item formats are used in the NBDHE. Descriptions of formats as well as sample items from the National Board Dental Hygiene Examination Guide are provided next. Completion. As indicated by the name, completion items necessitate the correct completion of a theory or idea. For example, the sensation of touch, pain, pressure, or temperature is determined by a specific nerve fiber stimulated, B method of stimulation of a nerve fiber, C degree of myelinization of a nerve fiber, strength of the stimulation to a nerve fiber, a frequency of the stimulation to a nerve fiber. Question. A question item poses a problem or set of circumstances. Response choices include only one best answer. For example, which of the following is innervated by the phrenic nerve? A diaphragm. B. Abdominal muscles. C. Sternocleidomastoid muscle. D. Internal intercostal muscles. E. External intercostal muscles. Negative. A negative item is characterized with words such as except, least, or not in the stem. These keywords are emphasized by capitalization, italics, or both. For example, each of the following is affected by saliva except one. Which one is the exception? A. Swallowing. B. Dental caries. C. Oral microflora. Protein digestion. E. Carbohydrate breakdown. Paired true-false. In a paired true-false item, the stem consists of 2 sentences on the same topic. The examinee is asked to determine whether the statements are true or false. For example, protection from excessive exposure to radiation is aided by the use of aluminum filters and a lead diaphragm. The filters reduce the amount of soft radiation reaching the patient's face, and the diaphragm controls the area exposed. Both statements are true. B, both statements are false. C, the first statement is true, the second is false. D, the first statement is false, the second is true. Cause and effect. In cause and effect items, the stem includes a statement and a reason joined by the word because. This item requires judgment of both the accuracy and the relationship between the two statements. First, the examinee should determine whether each statement is correct or incorrect, and then how the statements are related. For example, a traumatic injury can cause the pulp space to calcify because the accident can trigger odontoclasts into accelerated activity. Both the statement and the reason are correct and related. B, both the statement and the reason are correct but not related. C, the statement is correct but the reason is not. The statement is not correct but the reason is correct. E, neither the statement nor the reason is correct. Testlet items are used for testing knowledge and application of community health and research principles. They are also used in the case-based section of the examination. A set of associated multiple-choice items follows a short scenario describing a situation, event, or problem. For example, a dental hygienist employed at a public health clinic in a rural county of the United States is assigned the project of developing a preventive dental health program for a subgroup of the population. Community profile: the primary employers in this county have been coal mining companies. The county's unemployment rate has increased by 32% since the closure of the coal mines. The median age of the population is 46 years. In the county, there are 5 general dentists, 3 dental hygienists, and 1 public health center dental clinic. The clinic employs a full-time dentist and dental hygienist. The public health clinic sees low-income children and senior citizens on a sliding fee schedule. The dental hygienist employed by the public health clinic conducts dental screenings for the kindergarten K students each year. The mean deft, decayed, extracted, filled teeth scores for the students for the last 3 years are D 102, EX 087, and F 422. The community does not have water fluoridation because of multiple water sources. The state funds a 0.2% sodium fluoride rinse program in grades K through 5. The state mandates that a dentist or a dental hygienist perform DEFT AMT, decayed, missing, filled teeth, DFT, and gingival index, GI, scoring on all students in grades 1, 2, 3, 5, 7, and 10. Every year, all pathology is brought to the parents' attention and referred to a dental professional. 1, which population group is dentally underserved in this community? Adult age. B, geriatric age. C, adolescent age. The early childhood age. E, elementary school age. 2, what would be the next step for the dental hygienist to take in program planning after selecting the target population? A, appraise the program. B, define goals for the program. C, compile data on the target group population. D, develop educational components. E, identify manpower resources in the community. 3, each of the following is perceived as a barrier to dental care for this community, except one. Which one is the exception? A, geographic isolation. B, lack of water fluoridation. C, maldistribution of providers. The lack of affordable services. E, loss of income and insurance. 4, what can be stated about the DEF scores of the kindergarten students? Early exfoliation. B, high decay rate. C, increased referrals. D, late eruption pattern. E, treatment needs are being met. 5, how often should the fluoride rinse for grades K through 5 be performed? A, daily. B, weekly. C, monthly. D, 3 times a week. E, based on the caries rate of the child. Case-based. The case-based portion of the examination presents 12 to 15 dental hygiene patient cases, including social, medical, and dental histories. A chief complaint, dental and periodontal charting, radiographs, and clinical photographs follow. Items based on observations and judgments about the client's clinical conditions and needs follow. These items may be presented in any of the test formats previously described. Examples of cases and other items are provided in the NBDHE samples at the end of this book and on the Evolve website. Sample examination items can also be accessed from the ADA JCNDE website. National Board Dental Hygiene Examination eligibility and application eligibility for the NBDHE requires qualification through one of the following stipulations. A student in an accredited dental hygiene program is eligible when certified by the program director to be prepared for the examination. A graduate of an accredited dental hygiene program is eligible following the JCNDE's receipt of evidence of graduation. A graduate of a non-accredited program is eligible only if the program is deemed equivalent to an accredited program by an independent auditing agency, e.g., length of study, curriculum content, hours of clinical instruction. A dental student from an accredited dental school is eligible if the dean of that school certifies that the student has completed the equivalent of a dental hygiene program. A dentist is eligible if the National Board Dental Examination eligibility requirements have been met. Applications must be submitted electronically to the Joint Commission. The steps involved in the application process include the following. Read the NBDHE guide before applying. Obtain a dental personal identifier number from the ADA. The Dent PIN is a unique number to identify students and examinees for secure reporting, transmission of test scores, and tracking of academic data in the educational system of the United States. apply for the examination, confirm and agree to the rules and regulations, include requests for score reporting to state boards where seeking licensure. If applicable, submit appropriate documentation of a disability to support an appeal for testing accommodation. Also indicate whether the NBDHE was previously taken. After processing the application, the Joint Commission will send notification of eligibility, schedule an appointment to take the examination at a Pearson VUE testing center. The computer-delivered NBDHE is scheduled and administered on an individual basis year-round. Candidates for the NBDHE must present 2 original current forms of identification to the testing center as follows: 1 government-issued ID with a photograph and signature, 1 secondary ID with a signature. No personal items are allowed in the secure testing area. The testing schedule begins with an optional 15-minute tutorial. 3.5 hours are allowed for the first session, Component A, and 4 hours are allowed for the second session, Component B, 150 client case-based items. An optional 1-hour break is scheduled between the sessions. Examinees may provide feedback in a 15-minute post-examination survey on completion of the examination and will receive a notice of completion before leaving the testing center. The examinee's total score is calculated by the number of correct answers selected. On the NBDHE, there is no penalty for selecting an incorrect response. The total score is converted to a scale score ranging from 49 to 99, which adjusts for any minor differences in difficulty across NBDHE forms. A score of 75 represents the minimum passing score. The NBDHE is criterion referenced, that is, the minimum passing score is determined by experts through standard setting activities to ensure that scores accurately and fairly reflect the entry-level practitioner's ability to solve oral healthcare problems and to answer items relating to dental hygiene practice on the examination. Detailed specifics on the scoring system are outlined in the technical report on the Joint Commission's website. All examination results are audited for the decision accuracy of the pass-fail point before being reported. Results on the NBDHE are reported as pass-fail only. The status of pass is reported if a standard score of 75 or higher is achieved. The status of fail is reported if a standard score below 75 is achieved. For remediation purposes, examinees who fail receive numerical scores for each of the major subject areas covered on the test. Official results are available approximately 3 weeks after the examination. The examinee receives an individual score report, and by virtue of signing the NBDHE application, express permission is granted to give the Dental Hygiene Program Director a score report as well. Reports are sent directly to the state licensing board specified on the examinee's application. Examinees who have passed the NBDHE may not retake the examination unless required by a state board or regulatory jurisdiction. An unsuccessful examinee may reapply after 90 days from the date of the previous examination attempt. After 3 failures, the examinee must wait 12 months before reapplying. Examination attempts on or after January 1st, 2012 are restricted by the JCNDE's 5 years, 5 attempts eligibility rule, which mandates examinees must pass the examination within 5 years of their first attempt or 5 examination attempts, whichever comes first. Ethical and legal issues. The Joint Commission maintains a program to identify any irregularities or cheating on the examination. As professionals, applicants for the NBDHE are obliged to uphold ethical standards of behavior. All examinees are expected to pass the examination on individual merit, without assistance or prior knowledge of examination items. The National Board's rules of conduct prohibit retaining or sharing test items to ensure that no examinee has an unfair advantage. Maintaining the confidentiality of the examination protects the integrity of the examination process and ensures valid outcomes in determining satisfactory achievement to practice safely and responsibly. Violating the confidentiality agreement by distributing or seeking unreleased examination items is a legal infraction with stiff penalties, including the voiding of examination results, civil liability, criminal penalties, or both. In some cases, misconduct is reported to the school or licensing authorities. Unethical conduct carries the risk of delay, denial, or loss of licensure. When the Joint Commission discovers or is informed that a breach of examination regulations has occurred, the examinee's results are withheld or invalidated. In some cases, the examinee must wait up to 2 years to be considered eligible for retesting. In addition to unauthorized access or the written or oral distribution of confidential exam content, other irregularities include the following: falsifying information on the application, attempting to take the examination for someone else, bringing prohibited items, e.g. pens, cell phones, candy gum, medicines, religious items, to the test center or the testing area, creating a disturbance of any kind, and taking unscheduled breaks during the examination. Study the rules of conduct in the NDHE guide and follow all regulations. The JCNDE's systematic security control procedures to identify and investigate irregularities preserve the examination's legitimacy. Preparing for the National Board Dental Hygiene Examination, study the rules of conduct in the NDHE guide and follow all regulations. Studying for a comprehensive high-stakes licensure examination is intensive and unique from studying for other tests. The following are suggested steps in preparing for the NBDHE. 1. Organize a study plan 4 to 6 months in advance to allow an orderly, progressive review without undue pressure. 2. Obtain the NBDHE guide and application materials provided by the JCNDE. Study the information thoroughly to gain a clear understanding of the examination's format, design, and administration. View the online tutorial for the NBDHE at Pearson-VUE.com NBDHE. 3. Obtain a copy of the most recently released NBDHE items from the Joint Commission. Released examinations protected by copyright and available for a fee are valuable as examples. However, retired examinations may contain out-of-date subject material and should not be relied on as the sole study activity. Simulated board examinations, such as the ones in this text and on the Evolve website, may also prove beneficial during review. 4. Outline areas of weakness. Be guided by school experience as indicated by grades or difficulty in certain subjects and by the items from the released or simulated examinations missed or marked as questionable. Dental hygienists who have been out of school or practice for some period should focus on basic science material and any developments in dental technology or procedures that have expanded or changed evidence-based practice since graduation. 5. Gather a personal resource library for reference throughout the review process. Properly used, this book should be the mainstay study guide. Directions for its use are included at the end of this chapter. This book is designed to provide a comprehensive review of dental hygiene, provide questions to assess mastery of the subject material, and offer documentation for correct and incorrect responses. This review book may be supplemented with textbooks, class notes, pertinent journal articles, and websites for further study in focused areas. Ensure all textbooks and reference materials are current resources. The JCNDE does not approve or recommend any particular texts or review courses. Programs or conferences that profess to be National Board Review courses are not affiliated in any way with the JCNDE. 6. If considering a study club, recruit 3 to 5 colleagues whose study habits, personal style, and self-discipline complement group efforts for collaboration. Otherwise, study alone. 7. If a study group is formed, do not rely exclusively on someone else for your preparation for the examination. Organize a schedule and procedures for operation. Content areas can be assigned to individuals for specific study and research, and then members of the group can pool information and notes. Discussion of items or content areas can contribute to the review process. 7. If a study group is formed, do not rely exclusively on someone else for your preparation for the examination. Organize a schedule and procedures for operation. Content areas can be assigned to individuals for specific study and research, and then members of the group can pool information and notes. Discussion of items or content areas can contribute to the review process. 8. Create an orderly system to guide the review and establish target dates to complete each area. Set deadlines for the review of each chapter in this book. Alternatively, organize the review around the NDHE test specifications. Another option is to assess and prioritize perceived needs. The point is to plan a system of review with goals and deadlines to monitor progress. 9. Launch and then stay with the plan. If progress slows, assess the obstacles and make modifications to continue the comprehensive review. Aim to complete the study at least 3 to 5 days before the examination date. 10. Take positive steps to manage examination anxiety. Fundamental guidelines for taking multiple choice tests. A system for reading and responding to test items facilitates performance. Some general strategies for dealing with multiple choice examination items follow. Read the stem of the item carefully and completely before looking at the responses. 1. Determine what the item is asking, identify key words, and try to formulate the answer before looking at the responses. 2. Consider each response carefully and determine whether the response is appropriate and complete. 3. Immediately eliminate responses that are obviously incorrect. Attempt to narrow the choices to no more than 2. 4. For combination items, consider only those choices confidently known to be correct. 5. When the choices have been narrowed as much as possible and the correct answer is still not clear, make an educated guess. B. Exercise caution in selecting any response that contains words such as always, never, none, all, or every. Unconditional responses are frequently incorrect. C. Look for the answer that best applies to the conditions presented in the item. 1. Avoid selecting responses based on isolated rules, apply only to certain locales or regions, or refer to procedures and techniques not universally accepted. 2. If the item asks for an immediate action, such as the first thing one would do, all the options may be correct. The best answer would be based on identified priorities and conditions stipulated in the item. D. The approach to case-based items encompasses a slightly different strategy. 1. Case-based items require time to read and assimilate pertinent information. Good time management is of critical importance. Before beginning a case-based section, estimate a reasonable amount of time that can be dedicated to each case and still complete the entire examination. Confidently answer as many items as possible, then flag remaining items and return to them when the other cases have been finished. 2. When beginning a case, review all of the case material client history, health, dental, and pharmacologic histories, chief complaint, clinical charts, radiographs, and photographs. Make a mental note of significant findings and begin formulating a concept of specific problems or concerns about the case before attempting to answer the test items. Answering items before reviewing all the case material will result in overlooking important aspects of the case and subsequent incorrect responses. 3. A well-constructed case requires referencing the case material to make clinical decisions and respond to the items. Before marking a response, consider what information is essential to answer an item correctly and where that information is documented in the case. In contrast, an item on clinical attachment loss may necessitate review of periodontal probing depths, radiographs, and perhaps clinical photographs or client history. Items asking for disease classification or appropriate care plans are more likely to require consideration of all available information before responding. Watch for grammatical clues. A well-edited item will offer responses that are grammatically consistent with the stem. If the item indicates a plural response, all the options should be in plural form. Any response that is incompatible with the flow of the question may be an indication of an incorrect response. F. Take heed of the words not, least, and except in the item's stem. Read the stem carefully. G. Carefully review questions that include all of the above or none of the above. These responses impose broadly inclusive and exclusive conditions. H. Avoid becoming upset over challenging items. Negativity and obsessing over a past difficult item affect the ability to concentrate on the current item. Also remember, on any given test, up to 10% of the items are seeded or pretest items that will not count toward the final score. Future trends in the National Board Testing Program. In its mission to develop and conduct reliable, state-of-the-art examinations that assist regulatory boards in making valid decisions regarding licensure of dental hygienists and dentists, the JCNDE periodically incorporates modifications to its policies for the fair and secure administration of its examinations. Website and software updates enable the electronic release of secured score reports to examinees, dental hygiene schools, and state boards. In addition to an expanded and more robust item bank, as well as ongoing forensic analyses to audit quality control and monitor trends in examinee performance, actions to enhance examination security and reduce stress on the item pool are continually under investigation. Clinical testing. The emphasis of the examinations conducted by regional and state boards is on evaluating entry-level clinical competence. The methodology for assessing clinical ability involves hands-on clinical treatment of clients. In addition, some testing agencies include a computer-delivered clinical simulation component. Testing agencies are obliged to adhere to published psychometric guidelines such as those from the AADB, the American Psychological Association, APA, the National Council on Measurement in Education, NCME, the American Educational Research Association, ARA, and others in the development and administration of their examinations. Committees of examiners and educators collaborate to determine the appropriate criteria, standards, and technical aspects of clinical testing. Examination content and format are similar among regional and state board examinations. An examinee's performance on the examination is reported to any of the regulatory state boards accepting that particular examination, see Figure 1.1 and Box 1.1. Every state has a practice act which delineates all provisions for licensure, including the authority for approval of performance on an examination as meeting its requirements for licensure to practice. A license must be obtained before beginning practice. Regional examining boards are corporate agencies composed of individual dental and dental hygiene state boards. Regional agencies have no authority over state boards and cannot implement policies that supersede the statutory powers of their member state boards. The state board makes the determination to accept the results of the regional board as satisfying its requirements for licensure. A regional agency consists of states that have opted to standardize clinical testing requirements and pool resources to develop and administer reliable clinical examinations. Regional examinations are developed with the consensus of the member states, see boxes 1.1 and 1.2. The membership of regional testing agencies fluctuates as states join or withdraw. Many states belong to more than one regional board, whereas other states belong to a single regional board but accept the examination results of one or more of the others, see box 1.1 and figure 1.1. The 5 existing regional testing agencies are similar in their organization and structure. Each maintains an office and employs staff separate from any of its member state board headquarters, see box 1.2. A board of directors, steering committee, or general membership is responsible for determining agency policies and managing finances. A second key organizational element is an examination review committee or panel. Each member of a state board is represented in this group, which may include a dental hygiene program director or faculty member representing the region's educational institutions. The examination review committee oversees analysis, development, and administration. At present, 2 regional testing agencies, NBDHE and SRTA, administer the ADEX dental hygiene examination. CET administers the ADEX dental examination only. As an organization whose exclusive purpose is examination development, ADEX formulates examination content, scoring, and criteria for the testing agencies that elect to administer it. Member state boards participate in ADEX examination development and approval. A list of member state boards, information on governance, and an overview of the dental and dental hygiene examinations are available on the ADEX website, www.adex.org. However, specific inquiries about the ADEX examination are directed to the administering testing agencies. For jurisdictions conducting an independent examination, the state board is the testing agency. Examiner selection and training. Typically, state board member, dental hygienists, and dentists serve as examiners. The pool of examiners for regional testing agencies comes primarily from its member state boards. Most state boards also have the authority to designate additional examiners. These appointed examiners are licensed practitioners who meet the testing agency's defined requirements. The number of examiners assigned to an examination is based on the examination agency's administrative protocols. Testing dates and sites are scheduled in advance by the examining agency. Training programs for examiners vary, but typically emphasize standardization and grading exercises to calibrate examiners in evaluating examination criteria. Examiners do not use their personal criteria to assess examinee performance. Most testing agencies have an examiner performance review system to monitor scoring and ensure compliance with the agency's standards. The objective is to achieve an accurate and uniform assessment of clinical competence. Examination administration. Most clinical board examinations are administered anonymously or in a double-blind manner. Examinees are identified only by a number and are kept segregated from examiners. Clients are brought to the examiner's clinics. Examinees are not present when the examiners conduct their evaluations. The purpose of this practice is to eliminate any potential for examiner bias based on an examinee's personality, race, gender, religion, or personal background. Evaluations are focused solely on clinical performance. Curious examinees might be tempted to seek information from their clients for perceived outcomes about the grading assessments. Examiners typically are prohibited from sharing any information on scoring, so making assumptions based on the reports of clients who generally understand little about the examination process will only lead to misinformation and erroneous conclusions. Clinical facilities. Testing agencies use school clinical facilities to administer board examinations. Schools release their facilities for the days of the examination. Accommodating examination requirements entails scheduling adjustments, loss of clinic income, and increased demands on faculty and staff. Most schools charge a school use fee for services and supplies. This cost is added to the examination fee. If testing will take place in an unfamiliar facility, visit the site before the testing date if possible. Most testing agencies schedule an orientation session and clinic tour before the day of examination. The clinical facility is not under the management and control of the board examiners, and the school may have its own institutional requirements or record keeping for which the examinee is responsible. After an examination application has been processed, most testing agencies will mail examination-related documents as well as an information package from the school. This package includes a description of the clinic facilities, a list of provided supplies, emergency and infection control protocols, compatibility of handpieces, instrument rental policies, and so on. Equipment rental is handled through the testing site. Many schools have maintenance personnel on call during the examination to handle school equipment breakdown. Concerns must be directed to the appropriate source. The testing site or school deals with questions about the facilities. The testing agency addresses questions about the examination itself. The state board attends to jurisprudence and licensure applications. Examination instruments. Because examiners are calibrated with select instruments, testing agencies are likely to require specific instruments for the examination. Although such requirements may present some inconvenience, they are vital to help ensure standardization in the examination process. Typically, instrument requirements pertain only to the examining instruments, e.g., mirror, explorer, periodontal probe. Handpiece and instrument selection for performing treatment is left to the examinee's discretion. Most clinical examinations allow the use of power scaling devices. If the required instruments are unfamiliar, obtain them and practice with them in advance. Reference the instrument's task analysis, seek guidance in correct adaptation and usage, and do both. Instruments should be in excellent condition and sharp. Examiners may request replacements if instruments are incorrect or defective. Have extra sets of sterile instruments in case the client is not accepted or an instrument is dropped. Examination forms. Forms are an important consideration in charting, record keeping, and documentation required for the examination. Numerous systems for charting and for taking client histories exist. Obtain examination forms, or facsimiles, in advance and study them carefully. Practice using them. If forms are not available before the examination, take the time to read and review them at the examination site to understand how to use the forms before beginning any charting procedures. When charting procedures are part of the examination, their function is to measure an examinee's ability to recognize and record oral conditions. Copying from previous notes is considered an exam violation and may be grounds for dismissal. Familiarity with examination forms will help avoid confusion and facilitate the recording of data on clinical judgments in the appropriate places. Follow the exact instructions on how and when to complete the forms. Examiner selection and training. Classification of oral conditions of clients. The selection of a board client is the single most important factor in preparing for and completing a clinical examination. Testing agencies detail specific oral conditions as criteria for client acceptability, including the number of teeth and surfaces that must have subgingival calculus, and acceptable ranges of sulcular probing depths. Most examinations require a client with moderate to heavy subgingival calculus deposits. Clients exhibiting only plaque biofilm or supragingival deposits are probably inadequate to present a valid test of the examiner's skills. A client with grossly heavy calculus or severe periodontal disease is likely too difficult for a dental examination. Testing agencies develop and maintain highly defined and precise criteria in an effort to equalize difficulty in the examination. Client recruitment. Testing agencies do not provide clients. This responsibility belongs to the examinee. Some schools assist their students in client recruitment and may allow examinees who are not students to screen clients before a board examination. Ultimately, however, it is the responsibility of the examinee to present an appropriate client. Examiners make the final decision regarding acceptability. Dental hygiene educators and other licensed practitioners are not calibrated to testing agency standards. Client selection is integral to the examination. It is part of the test. Success or failure on the examination often hinges on submitting a client who meets the criteria. This crucial decision must not be delegated to an instructor or other licensed dental professionals. It is risky to present a marginally qualifying client or to design the treatment selection by prescaling in hopes of an easier examination. Having a client reject results in enormous stress on the examinee, including grading penalties or failure of the examination, the loss of treatment time, or all these consequences. Historically, examinees have exhibited incredible resourcefulness in recruiting clients. Family and friends are primary sources. The college campus or one's personal dentist or dental hygienist also serves as a potential client source. Students and staff at hospitals are frequently recruited. Many examinees have contacted local police and fire stations. Sometimes graduating classes organize a collective effort to recruit clients as well as backup clients for the entire class. Examinees have been known to advertise online or in local newspapers to obtain clients. Some examinees have resorted to literally beating the streets. Stories of bizarre and unprofessional methods of client recruitment are directly proportional to the examinee's desperation. Stress can be avoided by beginning a search for clients well in advance of the examination. Maintain professionalism in all contacts with potential clients. The pressures of a high-stakes board examination do not supersede ethical considerations. A client's personal, oral, and systemic health needs extend beyond the day of the examination and therefore must be given due consideration. Most testing agencies require some type of continuing care form to advise the client of additional treatment that may be necessary but not provided during the examination. Client selection is dictated by the testing agency's defined criteria. Criteria may stipulate requirements for age, systemic health status, minimum number of teeth, combination of molars, premolars, and incisors, calculus deposits, periodontal conditions, radiographs, and more. The requirements also include informed consent from the client for treatment, confidentiality, and adherence to universal precautions for infection control. Carefully review all prerequisites before recruiting clients. In addition to published criteria, take into consideration the attitude and cooperativeness of the client. Ascertain the client's pain threshold and tolerance to treatment procedures. Advise the client of the time commitment. Clinical examinations usually require long treatment sessions, waiting periods, and evaluation and instrumentation by multiple examiners. If clients are not adequately prepared for the demands of the examination, difficult situations can develop. Refusing to cooperate, threatening to leave, and actually leaving the examination are potential scenarios that must be circumvented. Advise the client of the purposes of the examination, its importance to your future career, the treatment that will be provided, the examiner's role, the examination schedule, and delays that may arise. When clients understand the purpose and format of the board examination, most are supportive of the profession's efforts to ensure the competence of practitioners and are appreciative of the dental hygiene care to be received. Finding the perfect client who satisfies all criteria is challenging. It is prudent to recruit more than one client for backup purposes and inform these clients that they may not be needed for the examination, but if willing, they may be able to sit for another examinee. Stay in contact with any clients who have been recruited. Confirm the time and date, transportation or parking arrangements, and exact meeting locations. Clinical examinations provide a reliable third-party assessment of examinees' client-focused skills and judgments. Each testing program has distinct examination protocols, procedures, requirements, and forms. Examinees preparing to take a clinical examination must contact the testing agency responsible for administering the examination to obtain its test specifications. See Box 1-2. This chapter provides only a general overview. 4 basic categories of clinical competencies are typically included in regional and state clinical examinations. 1. Appropriate client and treatment selection. 2. Calculus detection and removal. 3. Oral and head and neck assessment. And 4. Tissue management. Components within these areas may include dental and periodontal charting, extraoral and intraoral examination, charting the location of subgingival deposits, and removal of extrinsic stain, plaque, and supragingival calculus. Root debridement and removal of subgingival calculus are universal requirements. As previously noted, specific requirements for case difficulty vary among examinations. All regional examinations mandate a treatment submission of a minimum of 6 teeth. Some require the teeth to be in one quadrant but allow for a limited number of additional teeth. Client acceptability criteria also include a specific number of qualifying subgingival deposits. Typically, the number of anterior teeth that may be included in the treatment submission is limited, and a certain number of posterior teeth in proximal contact must be included. Examiners evaluate the treatment selection. If the client does not meet the criteria, at a minimum, points are deducted. At a maximum, client rejection results in failure of the examination. Some examination requirements, although potentially affecting the examination outcome, are not actually scored. Acceptable client age and health criteria are prime examples of non-graded requirements. Acceptable probing depths are another such requirement. Diagnostic quality radiographs must be submitted with the client. Although the radiographs may not be a graded feature, some agencies require a full mouth series or panoramic X-ray film exposed within 3 years, and bite wing radiographs exposed within 1 year. Others require only periapicals and bite wings within 1 year of the teeth in the treatment submission. Radiographs of non-diagnostic quality will result in point deductions, negative impact on client acceptance, and the ability to continue the examination, or both. Allotted clinic time is another variable factor. Most board examinations place specific time limits on the completion of assignments. If an examinee has 1 or more treatment selections rejected, likely a point deduction, loss of treatment time, failure of the examination, or all these consequences will be incurred. Pain management for the client is addressed by various means. Most testing agencies permit administration of local anesthetic agents by the examinee in compliance with the Host Schools State Practice Act. Testing agency protocols range from confirmation of formal education in the administration of local anesthesia to successful completion of an examination on local anesthesia delivery. Some agencies also have provisions for qualified licensed practitioners to administer the local anesthesia. Generally, clients must be accepted for treatment before administering anesthetics. Verify the authorization for the delivery of local anesthetics with the testing agency and the regulatory board before the examination. In addition to client-based testing in the clinic, some regional testing agencies utilize assessment on simulated patient cases at computer testing centers or at school testing sites. The knowledge, skills, and judgments necessary to provide competent entry-level dental hygiene care are evaluated in a standardized examination. Both the physical client-based section and the simulation section must be passed for successful completion of the examination results. No uniform scoring system for regional or state board clinical examinations exists. Scoring is linked to the content and design of each examination. In general, clinical board examinations use a system of weighting to emphasize the importance or recognize the complexity of certain skill sets and treatment procedures. For example, dental hygiene practice surveys show that competency in scaling and root planing is more critical than competency in stain removal. Consequently, in examination development, when both components are measured, scaling and root planing are weighted with more point value than stain removal. An examinee should strive to demonstrate competence in all skills that are evaluated in an examination, but may choose to concentrate time and effort on each area in proportion to the weighted significance built into the examination. The testing agency must be contacted for all performance criteria and the defined cutoff point separating acceptable performance from unacceptable performance. See Box 1-2. Ethical and legal issues. Because professional conduct and ethical behavior are central to the practice of dental hygiene, all testing agencies have stipulations for penalties, such as point deduction or immediate failure of the examination for infractions. Examples of improper and/or unethical conduct include, but are not limited to, the following: violating standards as defined in the examination guide, evidence of dishonesty or misrepresentation during the application or course of the examination, misappropriation or damage of equipment during the examination, treatment of teeth other than those approved or assigned by examiners, receiving assistance from another practitioner or using unauthorized aids, altering examination records or radiographs, improper record keeping or failure to properly document anesthetic use, breach of infection control standards, causing excessive tissue trauma, and rude or abusive behavior, and continuing to work after the established cutoff time, disregard for client welfare or comfort, use of cell phones, cameras, or electronic devices. Examinees found to have engaged in improper or unethical conduct may be denied re-examination for 1 full year. Testing agencies reserve the right to take other reasonable actions as deemed appropriate. Infractions are reportable to all state licensing jurisdictions, the examinee's school, other testing agencies, and professional organizations. Examinees who failed for dishonesty may be permanently ineligible for licensure. Preparing for regional or state clinical board examinations, contact the state board office to obtain a licensure application. Note all requirements, including which board examinations are accepted and any related conditions or restrictions. Consult the current State Dental Practice Act as well as the rules and regulations for this information. Some jurisdictions require successful completion of local anesthesia, nitrous oxide, and restorative examinations in addition to the dental hygiene examination. Prepare a scheduled timeline for satisfying all licensure requirements. List pertinent examination dates as well as the testing agency's published timeframe for releasing examination results. 1. Obtain the testing agency's examination schedule, application forms, examination guide, and any official information about the examination. Most testing agencies have this information available online. Read the information carefully at least twice. Do this several months before the examination. 2. Review all the application material and flag the desired examination's application deadline. Note examination requirements, including eligibility and documentation that must be provided, client requirements, instruments, and supplies. 3. Assemble the credentials necessary to sit for the examination. These credentials may include school transcripts, the NBDHE score, a copy of the diploma, current cardiopulmonary resuscitation, CPR certification, evidence of malpractice or liability insurance, and a passport quality photograph. Retain copies of everything. 4. Check the testing agency's website for frequently asked questions. This section can provide insights and coping strategies to enhance confident preparation. 5. Begin searching for eligible clients. Present prospective clients with a clear and professional explanation of the client's role as well as your own in the examination. 6. For examinees still in school, many dental hygiene programs conduct mock boards as a trial practice run. Additional clinical experience with clients whose difficulty level is commensurate with board requirements is likely to be helpful as well. 7. Practicing dental hygienists can set up clinical simulations of board requirements using the examination's specified oral conditions and time constraints to evaluate clinical skills through critical self-assessment. 8. For dental hygienists who have been out of practice, most dental and dental hygiene schools offer continuing education programs. Review courses need to be investigated and pursued well before the examination date. 9. Obtain the required examination instruments and practice using them. 10. Obtain examination forms before the test and become familiar with them. If unavailable, study the form section of the examination guide. 11. Be observant that the tooth numbering system used in the examination must be applied accurately. Non-compliance can result in charting errors or incorrectly identifying which teeth are assigned by examiners. 12. A few days before the examination, prepare your clinic attire and organize instruments and supplies. Confirm arrangements with the clients regarding time, date, location, and relevant directions. Check in with the client again the night before the examination. 13. If taking the examination at an unfamiliar testing site, tour the clinical facilities before the examination. 14. Plan to arrive at the testing site on time, taking into consideration traffic and parking difficulties, as well as the time required for locating the operatory, setting up, and orienting to the clinic. Avoid starting the day feeling rushed and distracted. 15. At the examination, listen closely to instructions and read thoroughly all materials provided. Failure to read and follow instructions is a common denominator in problems experienced by examinees. 16. Relax and concentrate on the high-quality dental hygiene care that you can provide because of your professional education and experience. Test coping mechanisms are provided in Box 1-3 and on the websites presented in the website information and resources table at the end of this chapter. Future trends in clinical examinations and licensure. In response to a growing demand for greater portability of credentials in dental hygiene and dentistry, most states long ago implemented licensure by credentials for active practitioners. Increasingly, many states now not only accept results of multiple clinical examinations for initial licensure, see Figure 1-1, but also are members of multiple testing agencies, see Box 1-1. An outcome of this overlap is increased competition for the market share among the testing agencies. In states where more than one examination is accepted for initial licensure, schools have a choice of which examination to host. Regional agencies have amped up public relations efforts and communications with state boards, educators, and students, touting candidate-friendly measures, sensitivity to escalating examination fees, and modifications to exam content and scoring to gain a strategic advantage. This competition may result in enhancements to the examination process and, with the cross-pollination of examiners who examine for multiple agencies, could result in an exchange of best practices and more standardized exam procedures. Debate continues on the appropriateness of the use of humans in clinical examinations, as the National Council on Radiation Protection and Measurement NCRP report number 145 states, administrative use of radiation to provide information not related to the health of the patient shall not be permitted. A cohort of educators, students, and some state boards advocate discontinuation of the use of humans, citing both ethical and practical reasons. Some examination agencies have incorporated computer-delivered simulation exercises in addition to client-based testing for the evaluation of clinical skills. It is generally agreed that a dental hygiene examination, constructed, directed, and administered by dental hygienists based on current and relevant scientific evidence, both benefits the dental hygiene community and provides protection of the public. Most testing agencies utilize electronic scoring systems to augment efficiency in compiling and releasing examination scores, thus facilitating obtaining licensure in a timely manner. Software tracking of statistical data on examiner scoring and validation can be used to improve examiner training. Some testing agencies are reluctant to publish information on examiner calibration and therefore guard this information. In our global culture, interest in working outside the United States is increasingly appealing. International licensure requirements vary significantly. A dental hygienist contemplating employment in another country should contact the ADHA, the ADA, and the International Federation of Dental Hygienists, IFDH, for pertinent information and potential connections. The IFDH has compiled a database with detailed requirements for working as a dental hygienist in the following 28 countries: Australia, Malta, Austria, Nepal, in Canada, and Netherlands, Czech Republic, New Zealand, Denmark, Norway, Fiji, Portugal, Finland, Russia, and Germany, Slovakia, Ireland, and South Africa, Israel, Spain, Italy, Sweden, and Japan, and Switzerland, Korea, United Kingdom, Latvia, United States. The information is available by clicking the Working Abroad tab and then the country of choice on the IDH website, http://www.ifdh.org, Work Abroad HTML. In addition to these countries, other nations known to have formal dental hygiene education programs and dental hygiene practice include the following: Bahrain, Hong Kong, and Jamaica, Jordan, Kuwait, and Lithuania, New South Wales, Nicaragua, Nigeria, Puerto Rico, Queensland, Saudi Arabia. Individual resources or personal contacts within the country of destination should also be pursued. As a starting point, collect documentation of all credentials, including passports or visas, school transcripts, diplomas, licenses, board examination scores, and employment history. Some countries require language proficiency before certification is granted. Others require an employment contract before issuing a work permit. Most countries require proof of graduation from an accredited school and successful completion of cognitive and clinical or case-based board examinations. Other countries request merely reporting to employer. A special citation is warranted for the National Dental Hygiene Certification Board of Canada, NBDHE, which was established in 1994 in response to a priority concern of Canadian dental hygienists regarding the portability of licensure. The NBDHE examination consists of 200 multiple-choice items designed to assess the requisite knowledge and skills for entry into practice. It is accepted for licensure by all provinces except Quebec. Clinical practice evaluations are conducted by Canadian dental hygiene regulatory authorities only for graduates of non-accredited dental hygiene programs. The NBDHE conducts its examinations in both English and French 3 times annually, January, May, and September, at computerized writing centers in numerous cities across Canada. Examination information can be obtained directly from the NBDHE using the following contact information: National Dental Hygiene Certification Board, 1929 Russell Road, Suite 322, Ottawa, Ontario, KIG 4G3. Canada, phone 613-260-8156, fax 613-260-85. General inquiries, exam@ndhcbch1dhcbc. And about the rigors of a country's requirements appear to be strongly correlated with the number of dental hygienists in the country, how long dental hygiene has been established, and the size and strength of its educational system. Content and organization of this review book. This book presents a review in outline form of basic dental hygiene, and clinical sciences. Each review outline is followed by related questions that test the reader's knowledge of concepts, principles, and theories underlying the practice of dental hygiene. Each chapter contains a section on Evolve entitled Answers and Rationales, which justifies the correct answer and every response in the review questions covering the subject matter. The rationales supporting the correct answer and explanations for incorrect responses are specified. By reviewing these rationales, the reader will be able to confirm facts and reinforce knowledge. An example is provided below. References: One American Dental Association, National Board Dental Hygiene Examination Guide, Chicago 2014, American Dental Association, Commission on National Board Dental Examinations. 2. Johnson, P.M., International Profiles of Dental Hygiene, 2007. Chapter 1, Review Question. Answers and rationales to chapter review questions are available on this text accompanying Evolve site. See inside front cover for details. 1. An isolated radiopaque area in the periodontal ligament space is observed on a client's radiographs. This radiopaque structure is most likely an identical, B. Cementical, C. Epithelial rest, D. Cementum spur, E. Exostosis of alveolar bone. How to use this book in studying. Review one section of the content at a time. Study the material outlined in the section. Refer to other textbooks, websites, and references to research additional details if any area is unclear. After reviewing the content, answer the review questions that immediately follow. As each question is answered, write a few words about why that response is correct. Justify the response selected. If your response is a guess, make a special mark to identify it as such. This will enable ready identification of areas that need further review and clarification. Remember to analyze a question, narrow the choices, and select the correct or best answer. C-score yourself using the answers provided on the Evolve website. If the item was answered correctly, compare the reason noted for selecting that answer with the listed rationales. Evolve. For each item answered incorrectly, review the correct answer and its rationale. Go back to the chapter about that subject and research information in your reference material. Carefully review all the questions and rationales for the items identified as guesses to ensure mastery of the material. After an interval of several days or weeks, review the chapters and answer the questions again. If the same items are missed, further study of that content material is necessary. Completion of the review process. Board examinations can be attempted with confidence and success after completing the comprehensive review presented in this book. Assessing areas of strength and weaknesses with the aid of the chapter review questions. Reinforcing concentrated study of particular material pinpointed by the review. Becoming familiar with the board examination process, protocol, and purpose. And following instructions for preparation. Preparation for board examinations actually begins with the accredited dental hygiene program's first class and continues throughout the educational process. This book is designed to present a cohesive, comprehensive review of that professional educational base to reinforce existing knowledge and to provide guidance for areas requiring more concentrated study